continue to do some scrims, make sure we're ready for our games on day 3 of the tournament, which is not tomorrow because it's day 1. But this is the end of day 2 of BlizzCon. It's very confusing how many days there are. But we are signing out. Hope you guys have a good night. We will have a good night too.
See you tomorrow.
Peace.
Hello and welcome back to the Blizzard Arena here in Burbank, California. We just got finished with an incredible match, a 2-1 victory by Beyond the Game over Darksided from Australia, New Zealand. Beyond the Game, one more match ahead of us. This one, an elimination match and the final deciding one for our last spot out of Group B, headed to BlizzCon. Will it be Team Freedom from North America or Beyond the Game from China? I'm having a blast. My name's Kevin. I'm with you all through the next 2 weeks, but it is my privilege right now to throw to one of my best OG caster friends, BlizzCon 2014. That's right. It's none other than Tim Trixler Frazier. Over to you.
BlizzCon 2014. Back in the day with KJ, casting the BlizzCon finals was a good time, but now here in 2017, we are moving forward with a Group B. Fnatic came out, and while many expected them to get the #1 seed, they have done a little bit better than expected, but also on the other side, Team Freedom pushed them to the limits. I am here with Gillyweed, Wolf, and Jayhow as we get ready for our last match of the night, trying to figure out who will be the #2 seed to go to Anaheim next week. Gillyweed, are you excited for this matchup?
Yeah, I'm very excited for this matchup. Beyond the Game and Team Freedom, it's the rematch from earlier. I feel like we've gotten to see the evolution of both of these teams. Team Freedom on one side going back to their roots and drafting, finally bringing out the Diva as their series have progressed. But then BTG, it feels like every game they play, the synergy gets more and more online between these members from so many different teams.
Now, before we jump into the match, let's go ahead and look at Group B and how far we've progressed throughout the entire day. And Wolf, while we're going through Group B, what has impressed you the most about today?
I feel like Beyond the Game's adaptations throughout the day have been really exciting, but I think my most exciting moment was just Team Freedom taking that game against Fnatic, nearly taking the series.
Yeah.
Like, no one really expected that. Everyone thought it was going to be kind of a walkover 4-0 for Fnatic. They even said in interviews they thought it was the easiest group in the tournament. They're defending champions of the global scene from mid-season brawl, but Freedom, I think, really leveling up through this last phase of HGC North America. I think they come in as big favorites here against BDG, but I don't think BDG is going to cripple themselves in the draft this time like they did last time with the Alarak pick that really didn't work out. So I give them a decent chance to take at least a set in this best of 3.
And Jayhow, we just saw BTG get over Darksided, which was an incredible series going down to the wire. What did you think of that matchup?
Well, you could say they rode the wave.
Yeah.
Off screen, by the way, Trixer said he's officially retiring Lava Wave. It's official. But BTG, of course, did take the game off. You could almost say that in that second game at the beginning of the day, the Zeratol pick might have come back to bite Team Freedom, who did end up 2-1. I don't know if we'll see, as you said, BTG's mistakes in drafts. Maybe Team Freedom learned something. They ended up going into that Task Tracer, things like that. So, BTG, I think definitely maybe they're riding some of that momentum off a wild series that we just had moments ago. So we'll see if that momentum does go forward.
Momentum will be important for this team, and I think I agree with you, man. They are really starting to push forward a little bit more, coming together as a unit. That limited practice they've had so far is starting to become slightly a non-factor. They find these engages. They're trying to force these fights more and more. And if they stay with that style, can you see them taking Team Freedom to the wire?
Oh, I think that they could come in and upset Freedom here, and it's really important for BTG that they do their best because CE has already been eliminated. That's one of the Chinese teams. And SPT, people are looking at that group as one of the potential groups of death for SPT to try to get out. But on the other side, a lot of people felt like this would be the best chance for North America to make it through the groups. We've already seen Tempo Storm make it through Group A, but this is a chance for Team Freedom. But I'm looking at BTG and I'm looking at ST. ST was one of the original members, and I think he's just picked it up so much. I thought he had very aggressive positioning when I was watching him in the regional. He's had to pick up things like more of the melee assassins.
Sure.
He was channeling his inner teammate Fish when he was playing Illidan, bringing in the metamorphosis, and it shows that he's leveled up and been more of a leadership role for the team.
ST has looked great today, but someone else I want to call out on Team Freedom, Collusion, has been killing it, especially on the Lucio. Wolf, has Collusion done anything this tournament that's really impressed you?
I really like the play they tried to make. Of course, it failed in the top lane where they sent Brightwing to jump in there with the teleport to get that angle. The ETC was stuck on the Punisher. We talked about, or sorry, on the Immortal. We talked about this a lot in that previous series. I think his support has been the key factor here, and Cure has often been empowered by him, and I think those are the two key members for this team. But I think about Team Freedom, I think about all the the growth that they've shown this year, and I think they're one of these teams that reminds me of the old guard, like Naventic, Cloud9. They're one of the newest North American teams, right? And they're the new era. I think Temple Storm is the last part of the old era in terms of North American heroes, and Team Freedom's is new faces on the scene, massive improvement. And I think for North America, it's a really great fresh air, a breath of fresh air is the words I'm looking for there for this squad.
It's a breath of fresh air, but I would not put them at the front just yet. I still have questions about this team, and trust me, I love Cure. I've had a lot of time to talk to him. The guy is incredibly smart, studies the game. But I oftentimes worry right now after what we've seen throughout the first part of the day is the hero pool with the current meta. He loves melee assassins. Sonya, when that was banned out, he kind of fell back on some other options. We ended up with the Zeratul. He likes to play Illidan, things like that. But generally in our current meta, it's kind of like that secondary warrior, that bruiser style role. And I think against some of the upper tier teams, you know, the assassins that he plays, his play style might get punished. I mean, they did have a good series against Fnatic, but I think there were definitely things that stood out there.
Well, I think we can't forget that Cure was also a ranged assassin player
Yes.
before he joined the team. So he is still building out that hero pool that you said.
Well, he's still developing, and there are a lot of questions, but only one question remains. Who will be going to Anaheim next week? Let's get started here. The best of 3 series. The first battleground of the day will be Sky Temple. BTG will be getting the pick here, which is something that Team Freedom is going to have to adapt for. Can Team Freedom pull off Sky Temple?
This is surprising to me because outside of one minor mistake on that Tassadar pick, in their series earlier on the clincher of Sky Temple, Team Freedom was dominating the game. They were basically choking them out through temples at that point. The rotations were there. There was a little bit of hectic moments towards the end, but Team Freedom was in complete control about 95% of that game. So maybe we'll see the Task Tracer ban come in, something like that, to basically normalize it for BTG. I'm really curious on what their draft's going to be here on Sky Temple.
Well, let's get started here. BTG and Team Freedom facing off on Sky Temple, the last match of the night.
Let's see what we end up having for Cure as a melee assassin, as a solo laner on this map. Lanes very far apart. Will he be given the potential Collusion to run Brightwing here? Ariel is going to be the priority first here, so a little bit of a movement back towards their first map they played on BOE with this draft.
Going back to the battleground choice for Beyond the Game, what I am enjoying from this is that Beyond the Game picked this versus Freedom the first time they played, and what it shows is that they do feel like with just a couple of different adjustments, they still feel like they could defeat Team Freedom here. But I don't know if it's going to work out for them. I've said it before, this is Team Freedom's best battleground. Maybe it's changing to Towers of Doom now that they're able to defeat Fnatic there. But either way, Team Freedom are not going to be able to get the victory with Damesky's Genji, as that's been taken away by Beyond the Game.
I really want to point out real quick, one of the cool things about the map Sky Temple was the ETC play the stage dives right, and that was their first pick last time they fought on this map, so already clear preparation. Even though they had very little time between their last series and this one, Beyond the Game already prepared that ETC ban. I think that's pretty intelligent.
It is, and I think one of the biggest things is by going into the Genji, going into the Brightwing, the Task Tracer is very unappealing at that point. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of the Ariel Tassadar lately in our current meta, but obviously going into a little bit safer style of the Tyrael there, and there's the Cure pick of Dahaka. Now, the thing I like most about this is they save that damage dealer. They also can flex into that double support who could potentially be Lucio. They don't have to early commit to it this far in. So getting that good wave clear, getting that global allows them to have a stable early part of the draft and allows them to try and counter a lot of what BTG will do after the second phase.
There was also a secondary ban from Team Freedom on Genji, and that's where we're seeing the adjustment of Genji even further up for BTG, and it was a pretty fast Genji to pick up, so it's obvious that they see a lot of value in having Genji here. Maybe we'll see if Team Freedom wants to ban an Abathur versus that. They've done it before, wanting to not allow for the double Genji style playstyle.
I wonder if they'll ban Sonya though, because if you ban the Sonya here, you take away the top lane, or it's really strong to do this because sure they can still pick Malthael, but it's okay because Tyrell's going to win out the fight. We saw incredible sanctifications from this team earlier when that's what they needed to defeat the Alarak composition, for example. So I lean towards the Sonya ban. I think the Abathur ban is more historic for this team given these compositions and the situation. But that will allow the Sonya pick for Beyond the Game as their solo laner.
I actually might be a little bit against that because I actually think that with the Genji Brightwing setup, you're either forced into a pretty all-in composition because you'll have Sonya, Genji going in with a potentially solo support Brightwing, and if you go double support, then you're really all in at that point. I don't know where I feel right now with the current melee situation on a Genji style because I generally like to complement that with another backliner. But because if you go all in, if you end up getting like the Illidan, which we've seen some teams run things like that, and you really go all in, or even the Tracer at this point, this is we're hitting your back line and we're hitting it hard with this composition.
Dive City here.
Yeah.
4 Beyond the Game. Genji, Tracer, Tassadar, expecting a Murden for that final 5th pickup. Team Freedom will have to account that obviously here with the 4th and 5th. They're looking for a battery here. What battery can you pick for Team Freedom that can handle this push coming your way?
Cassia. The only problem that I have with this current setup right now is that you look at Ariel, Tyrael, and Dahaka. Unless Dahaka lands a really good tongue on one of these, like you are lacking that hard CC or the point and click CC, which would generally come out from like a Brightwing style, things like that. And I really worry if it is a Cassie, I think you get the blind out of that. The only thing is she's susceptible to that mage style damage, which is the Pulse Bomb or the Genji Dragon Blade, things like that coming in.
Yeah, I think if you get Cassia, Lucio here, it's really strong because, yeah, you have this solo DPS Cassia, she's a good battery, but the Lucio play allows faster rotations and you can deal with that Pulse Bomb when you use Sound Barrier correctly. Can help you against the Dragon Blade too. I think they need a defensive tool like that to pair with a Sank. And that they're going to go down the Lucio path. Going to be Vala instead of the Cassia so that you don't get those blinds here. And that puts further pressure on the Tyrael in these team fights to mitigate that damage.
You at least get better, I guess, auto attack style, single target damage that will help, especially if you can land those Hungering Arrows against something like Tracer, force out a recall, things like that. You could potentially, if you can land the tongue, get something in there, maybe followed up with Rain of Vengeance, but at the same time, you could also get good value out of Strafe against this composition.
Yeah, what I see from Beyond the Game is a lot of different ways to get Brightwing into the middle of the fight with a phase shift.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm scared. Team Freedom, when they are concerted, has evolved throughout the day to be better and better with these type of supporting heroics, one after another, things to get through the initial dive. In that case, it'd be great. But if Brightwing splits apart Team Freedom and there's mass chaos, I feel Genji and Tracer are going to run rampant around Team Freedom.
You saw it earlier.
Yeah.
That Infernal Shrines game, there was a minor misplay that was clutched at the end where you're just hoping to get in there, hoping that you can drop the beat in there, like as you're being pushed away from your team, you're completely isolated, like, I'm trying to save you, I want to get in there, but they were really, really good Emerald Wednesday.
I'm really worried because they don't have a dedicated solo laner, just like last time they placed on this map. Because when you have this situation, it means you don't have anyone to put pressure on Dahaka, so he runs away with things, and eventually Brightwing will go there, yes, and she'll have the global potential to travel around, but you're going against a Dahaka who can teleport around the map at will, and not just teleport to teammates, but teleport to lanes to pressure with his brush stock ability, and you have a Lucio, which means that rotations to punish the Brightwing who does go to try to soak are going to be there. So that's my big concern with this comp. They pick the Murden, a strong tank pick here, but no solo laner. That's my issue with the comp for BTG.
So we're looking at Team Freedom here to control the tempo of this match here if they want to get a victory, whereas we're looking at Beyond the Game to be aggressive and to really just put chaos into that tempo. Gilly, do you think they can pull it off?
I think BTG can pull it off, and I think it's going to be more on the mindset of Team Freedom, honestly.
Yep.
Team Freedom has seen and should know that no matter who they got in this match, BTG or Darksided, it's going to be a team who wants team fights, who wants to bring the aggression in. Team Freedom now needs to be the team on the other side of where they normally are, the team who is willing to be patient with their global, be patient with their macro play, and try to control the battleground.
Well, with that all being said here, it is time to watch game number 1 in this best of 3 series. We're going to our casters here, and I let Claris go over there, so we'll see him there.
That's right. Thank you very much, my friend. I've shaked off the shackles of oppression over on the desk over there. Now I've escaped down here, Dread. Excited for the final match?
I am excited that not only you are free, but also that we're going to have Team Freedom here performing once more up against BTG. You know, it's honestly been amazing, this group. Everybody thought it was so very predictable, now having, you know, some of the most competitive games, it feels like, out of BlizzCon opening week.
And BTG being able to advance on to this final round against Darksided. That series could have gone either way, depending. But let's get into it now as we head on to Tomb of the Spider Queen. In fact, it's not that one. It's actually Sky Temple. I told you a fib, told you a lie, as we get into it in just a few moments' time. And for Team Freedom, it's a big deal. They already saw the successes from Tempo Storm yesterday. They certainly don't want to be left in the dust.
Absolutely, especially considering that Team Freedom was very dominant within their performance, looking towards North America alone. But here they are in the blue with Collusion on that Lucio. We have Zugrug on the Tyrael. Cure going to be onto the Dahaka. Next up is Dansky on that Bala. And last, Nasmus on that Ariel.
All right, and to the right-hand side, in the red, it's Beyond the Game, trying to get themselves back in this. Infinity on the Tracer. Next up, ST will be on the Genji. Molly will be on the Tassadar. Up next, we have 365 with the Bright Wing, and Ego is going to be rocking the Muradin.
And Beyond the Game has such an offensive composition, very skirmish-centric playstyle here. And it is, I'm glad to see them busting that out on a map like Sky Temple. When we talked to them before, they were very honest about their aggression and feeling like that was one of the most successful strategies for them in this tournament. And I'm glad that it's coming to life here on stage.
And imagine if they're able to actually prevail in this series. Imagine if with three fill-ins from the Chinese region, they're able to make it. That would be an amazing testament to how well these guys have been able to gel together in such a small amount of time.
Absolutely, especially, again, looking towards the results of Tempo Storm and the playstyle here of Team Freedom. I feel like everybody, you know, notes that there is definitely a level of improvement out of the North American scene. So then to see Beyond the Game with this mismatched, you know, group of players that they have managed to make happen and have that level of competition, it would be amazing.
That was a very interesting dig, a brush stalker away that we saw from Cure there. Maybe looking to punish a Bright Wing, maybe slightly out of position, but was not to be. Maybe a little bit of experience lost towards the top, but no, Lucio should be able to cover that. But overall, yeah, I wasn't expecting that little move.
We have 12 seconds before the first Shrine phase. Biggest thing for these two teams has got to be controlling the eye. The eye there between the two really helps with transitions up towards top into middle. Allows you to get those ganks and make sure you can get those kills.
Yeah, and it makes more sense now having him just rivaling Brightwing down towards the bottom for Dahaka, while the other two temple phases are going on up towards the top and the mid. So now, let's see who's going to be able to seize control. Looks like neither team's being too aggressive onto either of these shrines.
I feel like if anybody's going to be making the power play, it very much will be BTG here, taking the Brightwing teleport, following up on the Genji and trying to dive onto the backline. The members of Team Freedom probably a bit more comfortable playing it safer because of their composition coming online post-10, but BTG Infinity going out too far. Dansky vaulting in and locking in that first blood.
Very, very nicely done. Very impressive stuff there from Team Freedom. And that's exactly what they kind of want, to be honest with you. Against a team that they know is going to be knocking on their door pretty soon when they get the opportunity to. Any little edge you can get with some of those kills. Muradin will die up to the top as well there, as we saw in our picture-in-picture. So very, very clean stuff to start for Team Freedom.
Yeah, very good transitions for them to be able to capitalize not only in the mispositioning early on onto the Tracer, but then cycling two of those members on top, collapsing onto the Muradin left alone. Everything here is working out for Team Freedom. They are showing why Sky Temple was a map that they really stuck to, well, again, in that climb in the North American scene.
And pressure keeps arising. That was another attack in the middle.
Gaining the 3/4 level lead after the first Shrine phase, I don't want to say is out of, you know, it's not uncommon, but it very much does indicate that, you know, Beyond the Game might have to take a minute and start looking towards the future and making sure that this doesn't get out of control, because we know structure, health, and experience is all that matters, and right now they're losing on both fronts.
shifts away there for Tassadar. No pressure for him. He'll be able to get out. But the pressure starts getting exerted now on this camp, where without Tassadar being so much full health and him being one of the only members there, it's going to be hard for BTG to rival. Nice steal away.
Hugo trying to come down with the rest of the members here of BTG, but it felt a couple seconds too late. Giants will be cleared up there, but it leads to a lot of damage onto this bottom front wall. Again, only furthering this experience advantage before the secondary shrine phase.
Very good stuff. The night camps up towards the top have not been captured just yet. They'll be wanting to capture those in maybe the next, towards 50 seconds later than where we're at right now, so they can sync that up nicely with the bottom temple phase. And everything else just kind of calming down, but still, as I say, that one level lead for Team Freedom.
It is in a situation where I don't want to necessarily call it a breaking point, but definitely a high impact moment is going to come to life here for BTG.
I mean, getting the well down here alone for Team Freedom is great.
Yeah, it sets them apart when it comes to that skirmish, but ultimately I feel like because their globals don't necessarily win, wait a minute, a lot of pressure up on the Cure, going to have to pop the essence. He does have a burrow.
He's okay.
He's going to be just fine. Healthy little dino there. But it's just because their composition is so skirmish focused and their global doesn't have a lot of pressure, they're losing the siege up here on bottom. Ultimately, this is going to be a very huge experience swing now for Team Freedom. Unless they can force this fight and kill multiple members of Freedom, consume a lot of these shots. And right now, their body language is indicating they have almost zero interest in that.
Yeah, huge limitations for BTG down towards that bottom lane against those Giants because they just didn't have much range. Tracer, even who doesn't really have that much range herself, was sat in mid lane just kind of soaking things and getting it done. At least they get the spot towards the top, which is a nice start for them to kind of find some momentum back.
Yeah, it will help them claw back, but ultimately now being a level and a quarter down, it is very, very likely that we see Team Freedom finding that 10 spike, securing the boss, looking to try and enable a major push here later on. And ultimately, depending on how well timed that is here for Freedom, we could be seeing minimum keep front wall, maybe even half the keep damage being taken out here.
Level 10 rapidly approaching here for Team Freedom. They're going to start using this night camp to the top after the temple phase, which is a bit more uncommon, but I suppose things did time out quite right for them. They realized they were getting so much value down towards the bottom. Why on earth would you come up here and try and like sacrifice that?
I completely. Team Freedom here. It is really interesting that it plays so very different. Wait a minute, a lot of collapse here on the Cure. The members of Team Freedom didn't even rotate up. Maybe he's confident he can survive on his own. Not feeling like that's going to be the case. Polymorph is going to be able to seal the deal, and the members of Team Freedom focus onto this boss.
Okay, so already Tassadar and Meridian are there to rival. Losing the opportunity for Dahaka to burrow down means that they're going to abandon that, even though they have the 10 advantage, which is fine, you know. Don't want to kind of risk that position. 4v5.
It's a really good job by BTG to be able to capitalize on the Dahaka. Again, that momentum swing, that high impact moment that I was scared of is essentially negated by getting that death timer there onto Cure. So very well done by BTG, but by no means is it even footing for them. Still a lot of experience to be able to struggle, and more importantly, an entire fort down.
So Sustain coming in. Lucio has a sound barrier. Sanctification is ready to go for Team Freedom as well, who are exerting themselves through this location because there's no level 10 just yet for Beyond the Game. Happy to take away the Giants to get things rolling.
Right wing on top, trying to secure it. The Giants picked up for Team Freedom. No initiation here for BTG quite yet. Infinity trying to secure the dismount. Looks like they're just going to walk away, and BTG is just going to clear up these Giants. Ultimately, Freedom here, they are making a lot of plays and trying to apply the pressure. Now Bali possibly getting caught out. Look at the dimensional shift.
Steady and patient, the shift came out. Here comes Archon as well. Dragon Blade's going to work on the backline with that big rain of vengeance coming down. Crystal Agent has already been popped. That will take Genji down to start off this team fight.
And the members of Team Freedom now aggressing further onto BTG. The silence is dropped. 365, quick to follow up. Zugrug drops the Eldruin's might, but with 3 seconds remaining onto these shrines, they back out, take the boss, and the world is theirs.
Perfect stuff, and an isolation on the way out for good measure, because if there was any sort of turnaround for a Meridian on that backside, absolutely no way. Team Freedom covers their bases, goes to boss, says thank you very much.
And it should be highlighted that ultimately 365 had kind of an awkward Emerald win there. I don't know if it was a fat finger or a misinterpretation on how he wanted to properly be using it, but it was essentially a tool that gained very little value into the team fight. And if maybe later on BTG can properly get the value out of the Emerald win, I think the team fight will look a lot different than what we just saw there in that skirmish.
So they're going to have to look for more opportunities down the line. Ego and Molly do not want to be sitting up here. They're going to abandon that fort, that bastion of hope up towards the top. Meanwhile, there is a little bit of pressure down towards the bottom, but Dahaka gets away just fine. So, Dread, overall, looking at the state of Beyond the Game, with that boss pushing down at the bottom, with Team Freedom shoving their pressure up towards the top as well, where does BTG try and find some sense of stabilizing?
It looks like their decision-making may be over this night camp, but ultimately being down to 13 talents here, I would like to see them try and wait out 13 into 15 fight.
Right.
If you don't feel confident that you can get that level of initiation, which ultimately BTG has yet to really truly get the initiation they want, they've been focusing on Cure, so I can see them maybe not able to rely on that one level window. I would like to see them then take them down to 13 talent tier. That is the safest talent tier to be able to take down these disadvantaged fights.
Collusion all day has been a menace on that Lucio. People keep letting him have it. As we're seeing once again, 365 coming in with the Bright Wing as well, looking for an opportunity. Dives forward just a little bit here, pressuring, but Team Freedom wants none of it.
Able to get a dismount. Cure not even threatening a brush stock there. I thought with the aggression of BTG past that night camp shrub, and without that 13 talent tier, we would see Team Freedom kind of turn things up, but they feel comfortable just sticking with what they know, absorbing all the experience onto the map, and just looking towards those later fights around those shrines.
It's very unfortunate as well for Beyond the Game. They're not 13 yet, so they can't go and rival the one place where they absolutely knew their opponents were going to be.
The only objective remaining. Yeah, it's kind of funny, you know,
Yeah.
when looking at competitive heroes, like, there are these windows of opportunity, obviously,
Yes.
and that they can so quickly that you can have it, well, ultimately, there's nothing to be able to fight for. Right now, BTG may look to try and force this without the 13, even with the giant camp up on bottom. Ultimately, they sniffed it out, but it doesn't look like they're going to try and aggress further.
All right, pushing through the middle now. Storm and see what they can get done, but that giant camp down towards the bottom still will continue on. They want themselves 13. It's becoming a bit of a nuisance there. It does now trigger. Let's see what Team Freedom can get done. Meanwhile, they just don't really care about the fight a whole lot at the moment. They're just waiting for the temples to come back up because they know they have the structural advantage.
Yeah, the one thing that I would like to see out of BTG, I almost feel like maybe it's a bit too late for it, but ultimately is to put less emphasis on trying to kill Cure in the side lane. They have a very skirmish composition, but trying to bring that into the 4 versus 4s. Genjis and Tracers do absolutely amazing when it's not a full 5-on-5. They're good in 5 versus 5s, but they thrive in those 2v2, 3v3s, and just trying to gank onto Cure. I mean, it's a Dahaka, one of the best solo laners in the game for a very good reason, his survivability.
Ego missed a Storm Ball. Can't really follow the engagement up off that.
Unable to get that follow-up here, and with the 16 talent tier closing in, Beyond the Game has to force now. They need to make this play here. These shots are only going to secure more and more experience. The bottom keep already almost dead here for them. This is the moment if they're going to be able to come back. Nice drag landing onto Burden. We see Genji going in, dropping the Dragon Blade. Sanctification is going to nullify all of the damage, though.
Fantastic Sanctification overall. Here comes Genji once again, but he's just using it to try and get away here, as he will get away on the right backhand side. Tracer's going to come in, put a little bit of damage onto him, but the sustain is too much. Auriel is getting too much value.
He's going to be able to pull the Bright Wing on back. Mode. Wind goes off, but she is down. Genji gets the deflect. He has to swipe away, and the drop in the beat. Cure comes right in. Can he land the drag? Not even going to be necessary. They find the Tracer. Murden gets the Dwarf Toss, and Team Freedom go 3-4-0 in that fight.
Team Freedom fights for the flag. That was brilliant stuff by them, just to control the fight the way that they did. And with those 3 kills, nice keep.
Nice keep. It's going to be a really good, solid pickup for them, and we haven't even highlighted the fact that 3/4 of those shots still remain. It is very likely if they, as we see Cure already going to secure those for them, the remainder of Team Freedom poking their way up on bottom. This is very likely going to be a minimum double keep play for themselves.
Collusion with a little dance on the keep, why not as well, as they're going to take themselves that temple towards the mid. Not too bad at all.
20 seconds until that boss does come online, so you can expect that Team Freedom forcing that, especially considering the fact that they have the Holy Ground. 16 is one of the best talents to be able to secure those bosses, even if Beyond the Game wants to try and force it. I think it's very likely Freedom goes, we can win this, we have better boss control. But there's always the Bright Wing factor.
Absolutely. Opening that wing condition up down towards the bottom, as you're mentioning, means that you basically put yourself in a 85% chance to win on that push. I'm going to break that down there, 85% chance.
Yeah, and there's a very, very clever play being set up here for Freedom. By having the double giant rotation, it is going to draw aggro out of the members of BTG, and that they could kind of stagger and start out this boss and force to split the hand here of BTG. But it looks like instead, again, focusing on trying to kill Cure. Let's see if they're successful this time.
An attempt. They do still have the polymorph, I believe, but at the same time, here comes the reinforcements. Drag on towards him. Does not crack Tracer. It's hard enough to hit the drag on a Tracer, never mind actually get a follow-up kill from it. And here comes him once again. Isolation onto the Genji. Oh, Genji in a lot of trouble here. Oh, Kyo with the play.
And the drag, follow up on the Brightwing Rain of Vengeance immediately after 365 is gone.
That's very, very impressive stuff from Team Freedom. Cure with some brilliant plays. Ego in a lot of trouble now with another drag. Cure gets the big double play with the Holy Ground as well, sealing in Ego. Team Freedom is on a rampage.
11-1 in terms of kills, and the second seed here for North America is now looking to stomp towards the core.
Impressive stuff by Team Freedom. Jeez Louise, is unfortunately for Infinity, it's not going to be easy to stop this as they push onto the keep. Very difficult to ever slow down this impending doom. And even if they tried, there's the Sanctification. Oriel's behind it. Let's drop in the sound barrier for good measure because Team Freedom just bagged themselves a 1-0.
Amazing play coming out from Team Freedom. Beyond the game, sticking to the aggression from the very beginning, but Cure constantly having the self-awareness, the map awareness to make sure that if anybody's going to try and focus and gank him down, he at least drew enough time that the members of Team Freedom ultimately were always trading up from, it felt like, first shrine phase onward.
And you know what the most important thing is, Dredd?
What is it?
It's the fact that Team Freedom looks like they are on a roll. Throughout this group, they have gained momentum, and look at Cure right there. Let's head over to the analysis desk to see what they think about game number 1.
Thank you, Caleris and Dreadnought. Now, going into the match, beyond the game, they needed to bring aggression towards Team Freedom, and yet they were unable to do it. And why is that, Wolf?
Well, I have a replay, so I'm going to call it up here. We're going to take a look. The end of the game, we had some questionable rotations from Cure, but let's watch this really slow. Isolation comes in. He's calling out to his whole team. I can hear him yelling, I got Genji, I got Genji. He takes out ST, grabs Brightwing here through this flank. At the beginning of the replay, we didn't see, but he comes in with a flank brush stock to the right side. He, by himself, gets those 2 picks, surprises BTG. They didn't know he was going to come from the angle. That's how they won this game. Obviously, this is just cleanup, but Cure making that move was the winning move of the game. Had some shaky choices, went for some ganks in the early game, and we were talking about that on the desk about how he was looking for some potential Brightwing picks in the bot lane, and BTG played too safe. We saw 365 was freezing the lane, staying back, but that move at the end, that call, and his flank there to just say, I'm brush stalking, I've got Genji, grabbing that Brightwing there, boom, that's the end of the game.
Jay-Ho, was there anything else that really stood out for you?
Man, you 3-level a team, they barely take any structures, and yet I'm over there sitting with Grubby and